We will now begin with the presentation of the 2024 World Watch List, starting with number 50, Turkey. Although overall attitudes towards the church in Turkey have not changed, a reduction in violence has led to their ranking dropping from number 41. Number 49 is Malaysia, where converts from Islam experience the most pressure and hostility, as every ethnic Malay is expected to be Muslim. Number 48 is Jordan, where unrecognized churches, particularly those that are actively evangelizing, can face harassment from public authorities. Number 47 is Kazakhstan, where Christians with a Muslim background bear the brunt of persecution both at the hands of the state and from family, friends, and community. Number 46 is Tajikistan. In Tajikistan, the government puts heavy pressure on all deviating groups, including the church, by tightening existing laws and by enforcing them strictly. Number 45 on the World Watch List is Comoros. In Comoros, Christians face severe challenges in expressing and practicing their faith openly. Reports persist of local communities ostracizing individuals suspected of converting from Islam to Christianity. Number 44 is Brunei, where a small increase in violence against the tiny Christian minority has moved them up the list by 2 spots. Number 43 is Cameroon, where Christians face targeting by Boko Haram, separatist forces, and government security units. Also, abductions, killings, and various other forms of persecution persist. Number 42 is Indonesia, which received a small decrease in the violence score, which is helped by the fact that dozens of radical Islamic elements were arrested by the authorities and planned attacks were successfully foiled. Number 41 is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In the eastern DRC, the Islamist group Allied Democratic Forces regularly attacks Christians and churches. Additionally, the region is home to over 100 other armed groups, further complicating the lives of Christians.
Number 40, Qatar, where converts both from an indigenous and migrant background experience the most difficulty in living out their faith. Number 39, Mozambique, where Islamic State affiliates have continued to attack Christian villages and carry out killings and abductions. Number 38, Egypt. Discrimination of Christians and other freedom of religion violations occur mostly at the community level, particularly in Upper Egypt, where even building a church can lead to violent reactions from Muslim mobs. Number 37, Mexico, where territorial control by multiple criminal groups continues to be the main threat to the church in the country, since Christian activities are frequently viewed as being a danger to illegal operations. Number 36, Bhutan, where no churches have official recognition by the state, which means that Christians are technically worshiping illegally. Number 35, Vietnam, which drops 10 places after a decrease in pressure in all spheres. While not much has changed for Christians on the ground, it seems that authorities at the national level are not sure how to react to increased international scrutiny of their freedom of religion record. Number 34 is Colombia, which drops 12 places after a decrease in score. However, Christian communities are still deeply impacted by the active presence of criminal and guerrilla groups. Number 33, Tunisia, where there were more church attacks and arrests than in the previous reporting period. Number 32, Ethiopia, which rises 7 places after an increase in violence score, with 15 killings and 284 attacks on churches and public Christian properties recorded. Number 31 is Oman, which rises from the 47th place. This was caused by several incidents involving the community of converts from Islam to Christianity. Due to security concerns, no details can be given. Number 30, Nicaragua, which was number 50 on the World Watch List just a year ago. It has moved up 20 spots. Nicaragua's score rose more than 5 points, which was one of the fastest among all World Watch List countries. Number 29 is Turkmenistan, where the authoritarian government constantly monitors religious groups and individuals. However, Christians from a Muslim background bear the brunt of rights violations. Number 28, Central African Republic. Most of the country is occupied by armed groups. Christian leaders who have publicly denounced the violence have been threatened, and church buildings have been burned and ransacked. Number 27 is Niger. In a disturbing trend, there has been a surge in targeted attacks against Christian institutions, such as schools, healthcare facilities, and other properties. There were at least 100 such attacks in the last reporting period. Number 26, Bangladesh, where the killing of 8 tribal Christians in April of 2023 in the Chittagong Hill Tracts was a rare but not unprecedented flare-up of violence in the country. Number 25, Uzbekistan, where Christians belonging to non-registered churches have suffered from police raids, threats, arrests, and fines. Number 24 is Morocco, where Christians from a Muslim background are not recognized by the government, are closely monitored by the security services, and most often face hostility from extended family. Their growing number increasingly leads to more incidents. Number 23 is Mauritania, whose score remained the same even though it dropped 3 places on the list.
We're at number 22, which is Cuba. Cuba continues to rise up the list as church leaders and Christian activists that have stood against government human rights abuses have quickly become targets of various forms of hostility. Number 21 is Laos. Laos has the largest score increase on the 2024 World Watch List, with an increase of more than 6 points and rising 10 places, up from number 31. Number 20 is Burkina Faso, where at least 31 Christians were killed and many churches destroyed by the activities of jihadist groups. Number 19 is China, where thousands of church buildings were affected. Crosses had to be removed, communist emblems and slogans put up, church venues were closed or destroyed. Number 18 is the Maldives, where conservative Islamic attitudes of the general population make conversion to Christianity extremely risky. Expatriate Christians are closely watched as well, making Christian fellowship very difficult. Number 17 is Myanmar. In this majority Buddhist country, even well-established churches belonging to historical Christian communities are being attacked. Number 16 is Iraq, which rises 2 places after an increase in violence towards Christians. In the north, there appears to be less tolerance than previously towards Christians with a Muslim background. Number 15 is Algeria, which rises 4 places after an increase of 6 points, largely due to violence against Christians, with churches being closed and homes and businesses of Christians being raided. Number 14 is Mali, where Islamic militants, traffickers, and organized crime syndicates operate with increasing impunity as the government's influence diminishes.
We will now present the top 13 countries, all of which have an extreme level of persecution. Number 13, Saudi Arabia, which is one of the few countries in the world in which church buildings are still forbidden. Number 12, Syria, where Christians fleeing the war's multi-front violence and subsisting amidst the collapsed economy have been easy targets of violence and of Islamic pressure to retreat from public life. Number 11, India, where the number of Christians killed for their faith rose from 17 to 160, and attacks on Christian churches, schools, and other institutions rose from 67 to 2,228. Number 10 is Afghanistan, where the Taliban seem to be more interested in arresting and interrogating suspected Christians in order to identify networks, rather than in carrying out summary executions. This could prove devastating for the very hidden Christian community. Number 9 is Iran. The government sees Iranian Christians as an attempt by Western countries to undermine Islam and the Islamic regime of Iran. Even historical communities of Armenian and Assyrian Christians that are protected by the state are treated as second-class citizens. Number 8, Sudan, which has risen from the number 10 spot because of an increase in violence against Christians. Violent actors have taken advantage of the chaos of civil war to target Christians, seizing churches and Christian properties. Number 7, Pakistan, where the number of blasphemy cases has increased, as has the number of girls from a Christian or other minority religion background being abducted, abused, and forcefully converted to Islam.
Number 6 is Nigeria, where 11 Christians on average are killed for their faith every day. Number 5 is Yemen. The church in Yemen is composed mostly of Yemeni Christians with a Muslim background and their children who need to live their faith in secret. They face violations of religious freedom from their family and the authorities. Number 4 is Eritrea, where pressure on Christians is at an extreme level in all spheres, but is strongest in the national and church spheres of life, reflecting the fact that it is the government carrying the main responsibility for the persecution of Christians. Number 3, Libya, whose increase in score is largely from an increase in violence following a major incident in May 2023 in which several converts from Islam to Christianity, as well as expatriate Christians, were arrested. Number 2, Somalia, where clan leaders, elders, and family members monitor the movements of any suspected Christian converts. Over the years, Islamic militants have increasingly focused on identifying and eliminating Christian leaders. And number 1, North Korea. Despite a drop in violence score, North Korea maintains its spot at the top of the list with maximum pressure scores in all spheres. And these are all the countries of the 2024 World Watch List.